Usually it fell out of the sky and everyone died, so bad news for Russia. Belarusian Mi-24 helicopter shoots down Russian drone flying to Ukraine. So I did wonder this. Why doesn't Russia launch Shahed?
He's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But what I
So Putin has fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, but he's not fooled Trump. Sure. The most interesting detail is Trump saying that when he would get off the phone with Putin, he would tell his wife, Melania, he had a good phone call. And then Melania would say, "Oh, really? Another city in Ukraine was just hit." Did this actually happen, or did Donald Trump make it up? We don't know. Melania Trump was born in the former Yugoslavia, present-day Slovenia, and we don't really know what Melania's politics are. She's never publicly supported Ukraine or condemned the Russians, but this is a meme. People really enjoyed hearing that potentially Melania Trump has advocated for Ukraine privately to Donald Trump. So the internet is running away with this. I had a great conversation with Putin. Oh, really? Another Ukrainian city was just hit. People are now making AI-generated images of Melania Trump in blue and yellow, showing that she supports Ukraine. And this is just a fantastic image. I might have to turn this into a fundraising patch. It might be nothing, but the Russians are definitely concerned because they were concerned enough to mention Melania on Kremlin state TV. This is what they said. "It cannot be denied that the female factor has always played a huge role in diplomacy. In this case, we need to pay attention to the role that Slovenia, as a member of the European Union, plays in U.S. politics. After all, to continue with this well-known maxim, Melania is the neck that determines which way the head of the United States of America will turn." Does Melania Trump control anything that Donald Trump does? And no, she does not. But can she have an impact? Can she have an influence, casually mentioning what's happening in the news when Donald Trump doesn't get the best information from his own advisors? It's possible. Trump reportedly asked Zelensky if Ukraine could strike Moscow. White House says he wasn't encouraging further killing. This is a conversation that I believe actually did happen. Donald Trump and Zelensky were talking on the phone, and Trump asked Zelensky, "Are you capable of bombing Moscow? The Russians every night are bombing your capital city. Can you bomb theirs?" And yes, Ukraine has long-range drones, and they have done strikes in Moscow, but they don't have any ballistic or cruise missiles, which is giving Trump the idea. Why don't we sell to Ukraine ballistic and cruise missiles? So one of the first things that Ukraine might be getting really soon is additional ATACMS missiles. If the Europeans are willing to pay for them, then Donald Trump seems willing to give up, the report is about 18 additional ATACMS. Ukraine's not going to say no to those. But here is the big item that Donald Trump could approve that Joe Biden was never willing to do. Ukraine's next weapon could be the US-made JASSM, and it might arrive just in time. The AGM-158 JASSM, this is the American equivalent of a Storm Shadow or a Scalp. This is an air-launched cruise missile from F-16s. Ukraine now has F-16s. So will JASSMs be provided? And according to their range, they can't quite hit the capital city of Moscow, but they get pretty close. All of these Russian air bases and ammunition depots are in range. And yes, I think on the trajectory that we're currently on, Donald Trump is going to approve and sell JASSMs to Ukraine. This is a big deal, guys. This is a win. This is going to make a huge impact on the battlefield. That was the good news. Let's now get to the confusing news. Trump announces 17 Patriot air defense systems for Ukraine to shield cities from Russian air terror. Patriot systems, missiles may arrive in Ukraine within days. Trump said this. I'll link the clip down below. Like he was asked, are they missiles or are they entire systems? And he said they're entire systems. 17 of them. Trump made a mistake. His brain is mush, and I'm sure one of his advisors says we can send 17 Patriot missiles within days. And then to the media, he said 17 Patriot battery systems, which is not possible. The Pentagon was asked about this, and the Pentagon said they couldn't explain what Trump had said, and they said that the media should reach out to the White House for clarification because the Pentagon doesn't know how that's even possible. The same is being reflected by, this is the German defense minister saying, if a new Patriot system were to arrive in Ukraine, this could take months, if one can even be found. I do think they're coming. I think Sweden and Germany are willing to purchase entire new Patriot systems that will eventually be delivered to Ukraine, but they're not arriving in days. Beyond that, there is other air defense systems that the United States could supply to Ukraine. They're not as good as Patriots, for example, the Hawk air defense system, but if Donald Trump is willing to sell anything, then yes, relief for the airs, for the skies, will be coming soon, guys. What does President Zelensky have to say? We appreciate the readiness to provide additional Patriots, and the United States, Germany, and Norway are already working together on this. There will also be deliveries of other weapons to protect lives of our people and repel Russian assaults. The relief is here, guys. Ukraine did fantastic on their own, mostly holding back the Russians with FPV drones, but now we're getting real equipment, real hardware. The United States could send Bradleys. The United States could send Abrams, whatever they want, if Donald Trump lifts all restrictions and the Europeans are willing to pay for this. This is a win. All right, so we covered the good, we covered the confusing. This is now the incredibly stupid. Trump gives Russia 50 days to resolve the war in Ukraine. This is the meme. I don't usually give Putin 2 weeks, but when I do, I give him 50 days. Why did Trump say 50 days? And it's because of September 1st. If Trump were to impose new sanctions or tariffs or whatever, usually they take effect on the 1st of the month. So 50 days from the meeting was September 1st. That's why Trump said 50. Now, is that reasonable? What could possibly change in the next 50 days? That's different than the last 6 months since Trump took office. Who knows? Trump gives Putin 50 days to reach a peace deal or face 100% tariffs. To begin, tariffs are stupid. Tariffs are not going to deter the Russians because if the United States imposes tariffs on Russia, we only import about $3 billion worth of goods. 100% tariffs means Americans will pay an additional $3 billion to import anything from Russia. Whatever. Trump then talks about secondary tariffs or secondary sanctions. Basically, anybody who buys Russian oil or gas will then face a 100% tariff from the United States. I don't know why Trump is so obsessed with tariffs when tariffs hurt American consumers. Tariffs are an import tax that American citizens pay, not the Russians, not the Chinese, not the Indians. But we need a real sanctions bill from Congress. Congressional sanctions on hold as Trump threatens Russia with severe tariffs. So Lindsey Graham, Brian Fitzpatrick, they're not going to debate and vote on this sanctions bill this week or this month. They're going to wait until this 50 days is up. They're going to give the Russians a September 1st deadline. If Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire across the front lines, then allegedly, sanctions, real sanctions from the United States on Russia will be coming. There is this weird conspiracy, and I do want to mention it. This was covered by Axios. In the July 3rd phone call between Trump and Putin, Putin told Trump that he needed about 60 more days to take all the territory he wanted to take. So the conspiracy is Trump is giving Putin 50 days because 10 days ago, Putin asked Trump for 60 days. Is there any truth to this? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But Trump is so stupid, he misunderstood Putin. And when Trump heard from Putin in this phone call, he needed about 60 more days to take all the territory he wanted to take, Trump interpreted that as Putin told him he wants all of Ukraine. Trump told French President Macron this is what Putin told him, when that actually wasn't what was in the transcript of the phone call. Trump made another mistake. But it doesn't matter, guys. We're already halfway through the summer, and Russia's big summer offensive in Sumy has failed. Their second attack, they're attacking over here in Kharkiv. This isn't going anywhere either. There's no way within 50 days the Russians are going to take Pokrovsk or take Konstantinivka or take the city of Zaporizhia or Sloviansk or Kramatorsk. The map has barely moved over the last 6 months, and it's not really going to move over the next 2 months, especially with Ukraine now getting a surge in $10 billion worth of weapons. So we're going to wait. Can Trump change his mind? Yes, he can. Will he? I don't know. Let's get Russia's reaction, and they're pretty confused. Putin's negotiator calls for constructive dialogue as Trump shifts stance on Ukraine. This is Kirill Dmitriev. He's like the third-tier negotiator that Russia sent to Istanbul to meet with the Ukrainians. Lavrov didn't even go. And this is what he put out 2 days ago. Constructive dialogue between Russia and the United States will always achieve more than the tired, destructive language of pressure. Only cooperation brings real peace, stability, and global security. Biden's mistakes and deception will be corrected. The world deserves more. Handshake, globe, Russian flag, American flag. So that was 2 days ago. We need constructive dialogue. We need to bring down the temperature. Then the next day, he posted this. People who follow Biden's false narratives and approaches lead the world to winter. He's talking about nuclear war. He then posted a Game of Thrones montage saying winter is coming. So the day before, we need constructive dialogue. The next day, we're threatening to nuke everyone in the world and create a permanent winter. Let's get Peskov's response. This is what Peskov had to say in response to Trump's announcement. I will tell you the following about Trump's statement yesterday. The statement of the President of the United States is very serious. Something in it was addressed personally to President Putin. We certainly need time to analyze what was said in Washington. If and when President Putin deems it necessary, he will definitely comment on it. I wouldn't comment before it's appropriate, so let's wait for Putin's decision. He will comment on it himself. So far, we can say one thing unequivocally. It appears that such a decision, which is made in Washington and the NATO countries, and directly in Brussels, is perceived by the Ukrainian side not as a signal for peace, but as a signal to continue the war. I want to reiterate that we have repeatedly declared at various levels, including the highest level, that we are waiting for proposals, blah, blah, blah. So the Russians don't know how to react. Donald Trump gave them a 50-day deadline, so if they freak out and start attacking Trump, he can always just say, we're going to do the sanctions now. But Donald Trump did approve $10 billion worth of military aid to Ukraine, even if the United States isn't paying for it. So the Russians are very confused. Here's what Alexander Dugin has to say. MAGA has to claim, return our Donald Trump back to us. Liberate our president immediately from the captivity. Let the president go. I'm pretty sure he's referring to Trump's announcement in Ukraine, but Russian propagandists, once again, don't know what to think and feel. Trump was supposed to be their guy. He was supposed to help them end the war by lifting all sanctions on Russia, returning all frozen assets, and cutting off all supplies and military aid. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've never voted to send a single penny to Ukraine. I've only called for peace. Opposing U.S. involvement in Ukraine was one of the most popular issues during the 2024 campaign. That's a lie, especially in Lindsey Graham's own hometown. I haven't changed. I remain firmly opposed to any U.S. involvement, including backdoor deals through NATO, which American taxpayers overwhelmingly fund. I'm unapologetically America first. This is a very weak response from Marjorie Taylor Greene because she knows she's lost. She's lost the propaganda battle to save the Russians. So much pressure has been put on Trump. Thank you to everyone in Europe. Thank you to everyone in NATO, meeting with Trump, talking to him, talking to his people every single day. This is how we got to this moment. And the pro-Russian faction of the Republican Party, they're rolling over. This is Charlie Kirk. This was his YouTube video from yesterday. Trump drops huge Ukraine update. And this is the benefit, guys. Having Donald Trump meeting with Secretary Rutte, having him announce new weapons are going to Ukraine, all of these MAGA influencers who don't have any real core beliefs or opinions, they're now going to flip on Russia. So this guy, a year ago, was calling Zelensky a dictator, Ukraine the most corrupt country in the world, and they're full of Nazis, biolabs, blah, blah, blah. That's what this guy was saying a year ago. And because Donald Trump changed his mind, now he's singing a different tune. This is what every influencer in MAGA is now going to be doing. Oh, maybe Ukraine's not that bad. Maybe Russia is not that good. This takes the pressure off on social media. This is going to change what people think and feel. This is the real victory in the short term. And it's a huge relief, guys. It's a relief. Here are thoughts from Ambassador Michael McFaul. Grateful that Putin did not accept all the concessions Trump initially offered, and instead arrogantly demanded more. Had he accepted Trump's initial peace deal terms, it would have been a huge victory for imperialism, but Putin, as usual, overreached and has now lost Trump. This was a very good deal that Trump has been offering Putin the last 6 months. You can keep all the territory you've taken. The United States will recognize Crimea as internationally belonging to you. We'll lift all sanctions. We'll apply pressure on Europe to lift all sanctions on Russia. All frozen assets will be returned. And the only thing the Russians have to do is stop killing people. Stop trying to take more land. And Putin told Trump no. And it's been 6 months. And Trump is annoyed. So the war continues. The politics have changed. This is a huge boost, I think, for Ukrainian morale. And this is going to be devastating for Russian morale. I can't imagine what Russian military bloggers are thinking and feeling right now, knowing that an additional $10 billion worth of U.S. military equipment is about to flood the front lines over the next 3 months. It's big, guys. So let's check in with some ordinary Russian soldiers on the front lines and see how they're doing. This is a unit showing where they sleep and how they live.
Вот такую воду пьем с какого-то водоема, мутная, горькая, но слава богу, что есть такая. Пытались сегодня откатиться, двое ушли.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the UFC, and the man who'll be hosting this weekend in New Orleans, Louisiana. On Friday, Power Slap 14. On Saturday, UFC 318. Diamond Dustin Poirier's last fight ever in his hometown. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana White.
Yeah, Dana!
How you doing, brother?
What's up, boys? How are you?
I heard your voiceover for the Ram truck commercial. You got that Ram shirt on right there? Love, hey, God bless America, Dana. Hey, God bless America, Dana. That's all I can say. How are you doing, brother? How's life? Very busy?
Well, everything's awesome, man. Yeah, everything's awesome. And what's funny is I never aspire to, no, there will not be a documentary. I will never do anything like that. I don't want to act. I don't want to do commercials. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But, I met Tim, the CEO of Dodge, and he was walking me through all this stuff. And they sent me over the VO for that commercial and then all the images. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm doing this commercial.
Yeah, I can do it. Do a little voiceover. I got a chance to chit chat with Tim as well. I believe he's fresh CEO over there. I think within like the last year or whatever. He's a lightning rod. This guy. Yeah, he's electrifying. I can't wait to see what you got. Go ahead.
He was in, then he retired, and then they brought him back. So yeah, no, I like him very much. We are like I said, I've said this a million times. I want to work with people that I'm aligned with, and I could not be more aligned with him. He's a great guy. Love him.
Yeah, and shout out to the Hemi. 2500 heavy duty that I got sitting right outside. This Ram truck rides like it's on the clouds, but has the power to get you wherever you need and the utility to get the job done. Okay, let's talk about you getting the job done. Massive weekend in New Orleans, brother. Okay, we got Power Slap 14. Congrats on the 14th one of these. I remember we talked before the first one. I got a chance to be in attendance at one of these. I was sitting right next to Travis Scott in the Kapow dead lady right in front of us, and it was electrifying. Obviously, social media is Power Slap's home, I think, every single week. And then Saturday, Dustin Poirier's last fight. This is a massive weekend for you in the middle of the summer. How excited are you for it down there in New Orleans? And what should we maybe have our mindset be looking ahead to it?
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time, so I'm excited to get back there. Fun city, obviously. Power Slap, for the people that have never seen it live, like you said, it's an incredible, fun live event. It's been killing it for us. And then, obviously, the BMF card on Saturday night, the UFC, Dustin Poirier, his last fight, win, lose, or draw, versus Max Holloway. And what's incredible about the Dustin Poirier fight, if you think about the lightweight division, the nastiest division in the sport, everybody in the top 15 are all killers, and these guys are ranked number 5 and 6. And it's for the BMF title, and the whole card is a BMF card. So I'm looking very forward to it.
By you. I think that, you're a promoter. I think that was a genius promoter. This feels like one where all fight fans are going to get behind it as well, right? Because obviously we got this number here, and then we got Poirier with his last fight. Feels like this is one that fight fans are very excited about. Do you feel that as well?
Well, what's funny about the BMF title is that me and my matchmaker sit in this room every Tuesday, and we fight and argue about, this fight or that fight or what we're going to do. And when I pitched them the BMF idea, I thought they were going to shit all over it. They did not. They loved it, and so we ended up doing it. And the fans like it, and more importantly, the fighters all want to fight for this title. So I love it.
Yeah, it's Dustin, though, and what he's done for the UFC, obviously, as we look ahead to his last fight in the cage.
Absolutely. I mean, what Dustin has accomplished here is incredible. And when you look at like his last 11 fights, it's the who's who, and I think 7 of them are former world champions. And obviously his fights with Conor, the list goes on, and he's a great guy. This is one of those fights where both of them are beloved by the fans and everybody else. It's one of those fights where you don't want to see somebody lose, but unfortunately somebody has to.
Yeah, but these guys are both entertaining fighters, which I think is a massive ordeal for you, right? You obviously, you said you and fight makers meet every single Tuesday in there. Style of fight is a big deal, right? As you're trying to build up UFC and still continue to build the best cards every single week in, week out.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we just came out of Nashville this last weekend. That card was incredible. Then we go into this one, which was actually the BMF card. And we expect, I say it all the time, I sell holy shit moments for a living. And I think we're going to have a lot of holy shit moments on Saturday.
I want to let you know, I sell holy shit moments for a living, and I'm living good. That is a real thing. We got 28 seconds till the hard out here on ESPN. We'll continue on YouTube, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and TikTok Live, even though they are fickle.
Sure.
TikTok Live is very good. We need you to get to the bottom of TikTok, which we will talk about with Dana here as we continue into the digital space. This weekend, massive for not only Power Slap, but also for UFC down there in New Orleans. We will all enjoy alongside Dana White, who will look spectacular cage side down there in the Bayou. Goodbye. Okay, now we're on digital. Sorry, I had to do that. That was like a weird, there's a hard out right there, Dana.
Yeah.
And then we continue.
Transition. That's a transition. You killed it.
Hell yeah. Boom.
I was at the Home Run Derby last night. I fucking connected right
I
there.
watched it. So I went out Saturday night with Kid Rock after the fight, and it was a really bad idea. And I was sick for the last 2 days, so I didn't work out yesterday morning. So I worked out last night and watched the Home Run Derby while I was working out last night. It was great.
Hey,
it was actually really.
Yeah, they bombed balls last night. It was a good show, I think. And Big Dumper, he's the guy leading the league right now. Him having a good performance was big for baseball. Let's talk about you going out with Kid Rock afterwards. I went to his restaurant down there in Nashville with Ernest and a couple others. The decorations in this place, the style that Kid Rock has, I don't know if there's ever been a human that decorates like him. And then I heard his house is very similar to what that restaurant is. What an interesting cat. And it's not until you walk through the museum that he has at this restaurant that you are reminded of all the shit that Kid Rock has done. He's in every Hall of Fame. I saw every plaque. Yeah. This shit's in this restaurant. He's out. What a human Kid Rock is. You need to tell him from us that I think he is an anomaly out there. Legitimately. What a weapon Kid Rock is.
I feel the same way, man. And so he came to the UFC on Saturday, so we watched the fights, and then we went out after to his place, his honky tonk. But the night before, he was in Kentucky where he played to 25, 30,000 people. He's doing all these unserved markets where they don't get big concerts, and he's absolutely killing it. And yes, he's incredible live, and he's obviously fun to hang out with.
Yeah, his decoration. You got to admit.
And his house. His house is a replica of the White House. And it's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. He's got a massive studio in there. He's got a garage with all his old cars in there. And then all of his garage doors are his gold records. It's pretty cool.
I'm telling you, from walking into his restaurant, I've never been to his house. Walking into his restaurant, I'm like, holy shit, this guy just lives. It's a museum. I'm in a museum right now. Collector's pieces all over the place. I don't know how many millions of dollars in collected pieces. They're fake though. It's not real. Don't go rob the place. But there's a lot of really good shit. I can't wait to meet him. Obviously, he's done a lot. You're in that world right now. Obviously, the power brokers, because of how much success you've had, and now you're venturing into a whole new avenue. And I think it's where you started, this boxing world. Let's talk about all the shit with the boxing world, okay? Because obviously we had you in Turkey on whenever we were announcing that this was happening. It was an honor for us to be a part of that. TKO teams up with Turkey. You obviously going to run a boxing promotion. You started in the boxing world. Obviously, you know the fight world very well. You know the promotion world very well. WWE's Nick Khan also in there. Now, first fight has been announced. It's fucking fight of the century, and it's going to be in a stadium. How do you feel about the boxing promotion? Do we have a name yet? And how much time are you divvying on all these? How are you handling it all?
Yeah, it's been busy, that's for sure. But Nick Khan from WWE introduced me to Shake Turkey a year or two ago. I don't remember how long ago it was, but we ended up creating a relationship. I like the guy, and I like what he's doing for boxing. And I don't know how I ended up in this Canelo Crawford fight, but I did. But this isn't what I'm going to be doing. I'm launching something else in 26 that I'll announce soon. I'll probably announce it with you anyway. Everybody loves you and wants to announce everything with you. So,
not everybody loves me.
Everybody loves you.
Dana, I don't know. There's a lot of people want me dead, Dana. There's a lot of people.
Everybody loves you.
All right, that feels good. Thank you. Everybody loves you too, Dana.
So yeah, I mean it's fun. I wouldn't be sitting where I am today if it wasn't for the sport of boxing. I love what Turkey is doing, creating, making these fights that would never be made, and we'd be talking about 10 years from now, wishing that we would have seen it. Those are the fights he's making, and the fact that I can contribute anything to this, I'm honored. I love it.
Okay, cool. So that fight's coming in September. You're starting something in 26. Can't wait to see what that is. I feel like that's some sort of news, at least at some sort. I don't think I had heard of that. Can't wait to hear what that is and see what it is. You're seemingly successful with everything. And on that note, you talk about Turkey being good for boxing. Obviously, you're good for the fight game. You're also good for sports as a whole. We're having a fight at the White House. So how, okay, take me into the think tank here. We're having dinner with the president at the White House. We overlook a yard. I assume there's a name for the yard. I should know it. I don't know it. A garden of something. You look out there. There's enough space out there. We could do an event out here. Is that how this comes together? This sounds like some of the most insane sports stuff in history. That backdrop of the White House / Kid Rock's looking house, you have that right there. Then bang, the octagon right there, and then a select crowd of people. That seems like a movie, not real life. How did we get here? And where are we in the development of that?
I agree. So the president has this whole thing where he wants to bring Americans back to the White House. He's like, this is America's house. Everybody should be able to come and enjoy it. Easter egg hunts on the lawn and all this stuff. He says, I think we should do a fight here at the White House. And I was like, okay, I'm in. So he told Ivanka to handle it and start the talks with me. So my team went out there and did all the recon on it. We're putting together a whole pitch, and we're going to fly out there in a couple weeks and walk the president through it and see what he likes and doesn't like and start fine-tuning this thing, and we're going to put on an incredible event at the White House in the South Lawn.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of your fighters are excited to be like, hey, if we're going to do something historic and legendary, we're okay being a part of that. Even somebody that maybe was retired. Go ahead, D-Bud.
Yeah, I got to ask you about the GOAT, John Bones Jones. I've seen he retired. He's unretired, back in the testing pool. What's the latest on Jones?
Is that for the White House fight? For sure, right?
Well, it was after we announced the White House that, yeah, he called and said he wanted to, get back in the pool. Obviously everybody wants to fight on that card. And that's a good thing because we're going to put on the best card we've ever done for that White House event.
Okay, so on that note, let's go to Ireland. We saw a lot of a guy, but obviously he is massive in the fight world. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Dana, then the other question would be McGregor. John Jones and Conor McGregor on the same card would be, historic, the biggest of all time, it feels like. Is that another thing that might be in the works as well? Because I saw a lot of him talking about it too.
Yeah, and a lot of him in general. Saw a lot of him. Saw a lot of him. Keep living, Connor. Just keep living. Still
anything is possible. Listen, it's still a year away. I mean, it's literally a year away from now. So the landscape will change a lot over the next year as far as title holders and, stars and people that pop up. But, yeah, I mean, we're looking if we do a Jones and Conor on the same card, plus a lot of other great fights, anything is possible and everything is possible for that card.
If we're going to have Conor McGregor and John Jones on the same card, I guess.
Sure.
I guess we'll do that. That thing will be electrifying. You said it's about a year from now. Do you have a date already picked out?
It's the 4th of July. It's the 250th anniversary of America.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Is that the greatest thing of all time?
Genius.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is, by the way. Yeah, the flyover.
Yeah, might work.
My. The flyover is about to be... Holy shit, Dana.
Just think about what I'm going to do for this fight, and then think about what Trump is going to do for this fight. You know what I mean? It's going to be it's a one-of-one experience. Like when we did the Sphere, it's the Sphere on steroids. I mean, it's going to be a one-of-one event. There'll be nothing like it ever again.
And then let alone Kid Rock starts getting his mind around this entire thing.
Yeah.
We already talked. Believe me, when we were out the other night, we talked a lot about this. Believe me.
Dana, I got it.
Well, that's the other thing. Where the president just put on he just did the parade for the military. That's all right there, too. You can put 25,000 people in that area, right? It's just the possibilities for this thing are insane.
Yeah, you're going to take advantage of it all and give us a hell of a show. And we're very grateful for it.
I promise you that.
Do you feel... Okay, I'm going to talk about your personal life real quick. Mm-hmm. So we see your friends publicly fight each other. That's what I feel like we see at this stage of life. And you're like a glue piece to all of it, almost. And every story is like Dana, right? And then Dana, there was even conversations that happened in White House that get leaked, allegedly. And then there's obviously public shit that we see. Do you feel a sense of like, hey, I am a rather important piece of America. Do you feel like that? Or no, you just try not to think about it?
No,
all
I
the
don't
big
think about
dogs, all the big dogs
No.
were all UFC events there for a while. It was just like,
Oh yeah.
hey, who's deciding what goes on in the entire world? Well, let alone the guy that's on commentary every time. His podcast just changes the entire globe's everything. And then you got the people sitting behind in the corner. It's like, oh, there's the president. There's the richest man on earth. Oh, there's the biggest agent in the history of being an agent. There's Dana White. Zuckerberg is getting into this thing, and they're just all there. And it's like, I think the love of your sport is something that really has rallied a lot of people. Do you see it that way? And how involved in all that shit do you want to be, or are you trying not to be?
I guess I see it that way when you point it out. Yeah.
This is what we're all seeing, Dana. Yeah, this is what we're all seeing, brother. Yeah. And let alone Theo Vaughn is sitting. Yeah, the biggest comedians are right there behind you watching the entire thing. It's like your events are like all the motherfuckers that kind of run everything. And it's like you're the glue behind it. That's a cool thing that MMA is the one, but it's also like a pretty important thing, I think, right now in sports.
Well, thank you. And you know, it's funny because I've been friends with all these guys for a long time. Obviously, me and Rogan go back, 25, 26 years. The president and I go back that long. And yes, the love of this sport and the things that we've done over the last 25 years have brought us to where we are today. It's just, I don't know. It's just as surreal as it is. It's what it is. It's
just
what we've
another
done
day.
over the last 25 years.
Yeah, it's just another day. I'm an American badass. Let me walk out here with the fucking president. I'm walking into an arena with the president of the United States and Kid Rock flanking me. I mean, it's an unbelievable thing. Congrats on the business. Can't wait to hear your next voiceover with Dodge Ram trucks. Can't wait to watch Power Slap 14, UFC this weekend in New Orleans, BMF card, and Crawford and Canelo in September, and then something I'm doing in 2026. Keep grinding, man. We appreciate the journey.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you guys. And yes, I will be breaking it with you when we're ready to do it.
Nice. That's breaking news.
Yeah.
It's breaking news that we're breaking news. We appreciate the hell out of you. You're the man. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana White.
Yeah, Dano.
Once he gets his range and he kind of has his head off to the side, he isn't a massive kicker, but he just throws them long boxing combinations. He goes from this southpaw angle, he throws this way, but he also whips these around the side a lot. We've got LT in the building.
Yes.
Who's very similar to
do you,
to
Rodriguez, LT.
See this?
Welcome to Tom Aspinall's Fight Lab. I'm Adam Catterall. It is a pleasure to be in your company, and today we are talking about BMFs.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. It's your host, Danny Haifong. We have a big show for you today, and we are just going to get started because Donald Trump just issued an ultimatum to Russia to settle the conflict in 50 days or face 100% tariffs to both it and its trading partner. Now, Vladimir Putin has answered this forcefully already, as the Russian government, through Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, has said that Moscow won't tolerate ultimatums and that, quote, Moscow wants Washington and NATO to take Russia's position very seriously. All signs point to Russia settling this conflict on the battlefield, and this has huge ramifications for the future of a rapidly changing and evolving geopolitical landscape. What explains the desperation of the Trump administration on Ukraine at this moment, and why is Russia not batting an eye to his threats? To talk about all of this and much more, I want to welcome back to the show Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff of Colin Powell and retired Army Colonel, and former CIA analyst and host of Countercurrents, Larry Johnson. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Good to be with you, Danny.
All right. Yes. Very good to be with you. Everyone hit that like button as we get started here. That helps boost the stream in YouTube's algorithm. But yes, let us get started with Donald Trump's ultimatum to Russia. So here is what he announced, sitting next to Mark Rutte, the General Secretary of NATO at this time. Here's what Donald Trump issued to Russia.
One of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war. It was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to be there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple.
So, despite his Donald Trump's claim that he is about ending the war, even as he is talking about secondary tariffs on Russia's trading partner, here is what he also had to say during this meeting regarding weapons to Ukraine.
Everything. It's Patriots. It's all of them. It's a full complement with the batteries.
And when do you expect them to arrive in Ukraine, sir?
Well, we're going to have some come very soon, within days, actually. Because a couple of the countries that have Patriots are going to swap over and will replace the Patriots with the ones they have. We have one country that has 17 Patriots getting ready to be shipped. They're not going to need them for them.
All right. How about we start with you, Larry Johnson? What is your reaction to what appears to be now, even rhetorically, a shift in Donald Trump's posture on Ukraine?
If you listened to Trump before that meeting, you were expecting a noise the size of a nuclear blast. And when he finished, you realized all you heard was a mouse fart. I mean, it was a joke. Number one, here's his big plan that NATO, who we largely control, is going to buy from us weapon systems that we're not sure we can produce or even supply. That is a great plan, because right off the bat, the way that they're going to come up with the money is either the Europeans are going to have to take it from the frozen Russian accounts, which will then set off an even bigger economic backlash on Europe, or they're going to actually have to come up with the money out of their own pockets, and their credit cards are already maxed out. They don't have any excess cash to free up, but go ahead and do that. And then the weapon systems. So Trump right there said 17 Patriot missile batteries. Okay, so each battery carries fires 16 missiles. That and we'll go into that in just a second. But so just start doing the math, because total U.S. inventory of all Patriot missile batteries right now is between 50 and 60. So essentially, he's committing to giving or selling a third to Ukraine when Israel's demanding it, Taiwan's demanding it, South Korea's demanding it. So we've got all these other demands out there that, we've got demand that exceeds supply. And then just the operational use of these missile batteries. Let's say that he is saying
the front line is moving faster nowadays. So Ukraine has less troops and they're willing to retreat more than before. So you remember how in 2022, 2023, the Ukrainians would fight for every meter of ground, but they lost a lot of troops doing that, especially when you face Russian firepower. Everything also changed with Russian FAB bombs, which can obliterate strongholds in a couple minutes. So the Ukrainians thought of a way of just retreating, holding a position, having the FPV drones eliminate as many enemy forces as possible, and then retreat, as to not lose too many troops. That's why when we see the videos of Russian trench assaults oftentimes these trenches are completely empty of troops. Now, in my opinion, okay, I think that the Ukrainians deep down have already accepted the loss of the Donbass and that they're willing to fight even if the Donbass has been lost. Now, the question is, are the Russians going to continue the war after Donbass has been fully conquered? I think this is the big question we have to think about because Donetsk is about to get crushed. Luhansk, I think they're a couple kilometers away from full capture. The Russians have 99.5% of Luhansk Oblast. Donetsk, every day now, the Russians are literally putting the entire focus of their armed forces on Donetsk Oblast. Who knows what the situation will be at the end of the year? The big battles are going to be Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, which are the heart of the Donbass. We can expect big battles there. But what happens once Donetsk is completely taken over by the Russians? I don't think the Ukrainians can effectively hold these oblasts at the moment. The Ukrainian plan is a bit like what the Germans were doing on the Eastern Front starting 1943 and 1944. Retreat and try to inflict as many casualties on the Russians and hope that the Russian army collapses by then. That's
Man, you know, it's ironic you say it quite that way. We had a very pro-Ukrainian person on yesterday or day before yesterday, and I asked that pointed question: upon what basis does Ukraine continue fighting when all the evidence says that they cannot even forget about winning? That's not even on the table, but can even prevent Russia from advancing. And he just says that we're hoping in a miracle and that they're going to continue to fight. And that seems to be pretty prevalent, I think. On the
they hope for what happened to Russia during World War I, that the army just stops, that there's a collapse at the rear, some sort of revolution, and that the Russian army is forced to stop, morale collapses, and everybody goes home. This is what they hope.
Yeah, but that didn't happen until about 5 million Russians were killed in the war. So I think we got a long way to go before they get to that point. Plus, the
situation has changed. Definitely, the situation has changed. But I think that somehow the Ukrainians accepted the loss of the eastern regions of their country. But stopping the war is going to be difficult. I read somewhere in some forums about Ukrainian population, and they said something very interesting. The soldiers were complaining about the lack of, how can I say, interest of the general Ukrainian population in the war, in that they don't care that much in what is happening in the east of the country. And they said that it's only when the Russians are going to be in front of Kyiv that the Ukrainians are once again going to volunteer in mass to help Ukraine. Only if the Russians get close to the capital city will everybody just, there's going to be a second wave of patriotism to help the country. But as long as the battle is so far away, it seems that a lot of people don't care. And
yeah, I don't dispute that. That's a reasonable thing, given what we've seen. It's unfortunate that it would that would happen again, that they would get up to that point, but that's beyond the scope of today's show. But I want to zero in because you keep talking about the Donetsk area, especially. And last week we had, I think I mentioned a minute ago, George Mamsarov on the show, who was a former Russian soldier and current war correspondent for Solovyov Live, I think is the name of the show in Russia. And I asked him a specific question about Pokrovsk and how important that is to the entire Eastern Front. Here's what he said. Which is the most important as far as you can, as a journalist, can tell? Is it to try and cut off Zaporizhia, or is it to try and cut off Pokrovsk?
Pokrovsk is the most important part because you have to destroy enemy forces there, and it will lead to the front collapse, and it will lead to Zaporizhia. The Russian forces will free Zaporizhia from the Ukrainian forces.
Well, and that's actually one of the next questions is if Pokrovsk falls, and you can see as I'm showing on the map here that Russia has been making considerable progress on the northern flank or on this eastern flank, depending on your perspective. If Pokrovsk gets cut off, even if it's surrounded, even before it maybe get taken, then that leaves a large area of Ukraine open. Does Russia have the forces to conduct a penetration with operational reserves if they make a breakthrough in the Pokrovsk area?
First of all, I want to say that It's a really good question because it's everything about control. When your forces advance and they advance quickly, you have to make logistics, and you have to think about how your forces will receive supplies, etc., etc. And Russia now has operational reserves which could be moved into enemy's breaches. And the thing is that Pokrovsk is not the only place of Russian pressure, and there are several such places where Ukrainian front lines could collapse any moment, and we have reserves ready to advance and to secure more area.
Now, that's what the Russians said about Pokrovsk, but about a week before that, you also talked about Pokrovsk.
As we speak, Russian storm detachments are currently carrying a wide flanking maneuver westwards. I'll make another video with more details about this operation, but what you have to understand right now is how the Russians are not getting bogged down in street-by-street battles. Instead, they're simply bypassing these urban areas. And by doing so, they also bypass most of Ukraine's strongholds. The operational objective of this orc doctrine seems to be Rodinsky. That was a situation in that sector on June 1st, plus 9 kilometers in a month. It's absolutely insane. The first step will be to take control of the Kazeni-Tariets River, as well as the villages of Raziny, Novotarietske, Mayak, and maybe even Novoekonomichne. Then comes this set of industrial areas and mines that can act as tactical bulwarks for Ukraine. At last, if the Russians thrust even deeper all the way to the Golden Point, they'll reach the 20515 road and the settlement of Radinsky. I don't expect the battle to be easy, especially since the stakes are so high. But at the same time, if the Russians continue at this rate, they'll be in Radinsky within a month.
That's what you said on July the 4th. And if you look on the map that we have right here in front of us here, they've made some pretty good movement here just the last few days. And so it may not even be a month before they get to Rodinsky. What is your view of